and we go more south to the country that is in the news for the last couple of months quite a lot, and with extremely beneficial tax regime, but when some other issues pop in, then probably we hear and see some turbulence in Belarus. So Alexey, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yannis, so much, and hello all from Minsk. I will start with a brief intro to Belarus tax system. Of course, we'll tell some words about our Silicon Valley, our high-tech park, and how it works now. And in the end, if the time allows, I will tell some words also about the current political crisis in Belarus and how, in our view, it affects the IT business operating in Belarus. So in the next slide, you may see a general description of Belarus tax system. Unlike Estonia and Latvia, we have a standard corporate income tax system, which means that the tax is paid when the profit is made in the accounting. So the standard corporate income tax is 18%, 20% VAT, 13% flat rate of personal income tax. We have a quite substantial amount of social security contributions to be paid, mostly by the company. You see from this 35 and 6%, 34 and 6 are paid at expense of the company, and only 1% is on employees. So for startups, there are kind of no special regulations currently, but there is a specific simplified taxation system for small business. So small business is a business with normally less than 100 headcount of personnel, and which is normally has an annual turnover is about a bit less than 700,000 euro. So such type of business can pay tax not from profits, but from revenue, gross revenue received. There are two variations of such system. One is 3% simplified tax with payment of VAT, which is normally applied by IT business because Belarus is famous for its R&D centers, which are normally work for foreign customers. And therefore, due to place of supply rules, VAT is simply not applied in this case. So only 3% tax on revenue is paid, or 5% tax. And in such case, the company cannot pay VAT, which is also quite beneficial. Other taxes basically remain the same. I may also mention standard withholding taxes, which are 12% on dividends, 10% on interest income, and 15% on royalties paid to foreign companies. Of course, these are default rates, and under double tax treaties, they can be decreased and sufficiently decreased. So now let's go to the next slide and discuss the benefits of high technology park, which is well known as the Belarus Silicon Valley. So the plan is rather simple. So business can establish a Belarus company at any place in Belarus. So such a regime is a kind of extraterritorial. So there is no need to put your office in a particular place in Belarus. It can act in any region. And then develop a business plan related to software development or some high technology production, which can be own product or simply outsourcing. Both types are allowed, and such benefits are guaranteed by presidential decree, and they are guaranteed until 2049. So there is no minimum amount of investments, and not only tax benefits, but also legal privileges. So of course, no business plans a structure based only on tax considerations. So it can be noted that HTTP residents have really beneficial accounting rules, simplified foreign trade, simplified attraction of foreign employees, and they are allowed to structure their deals under English law at a certain extent. So in the next slide, I will go a bit to more details of the allowed types of activities. So if you may see, HTTP companies can not only do the classical IT business like software development, quality assurance, artificial intelligence, and etc., but can also do some IT-related consulting, IP development, fintech, medtech, and even crypto business. Like in Estonia, we have certain provisions of the law providing for tax exemptions for crypto business, cybersports, and etc. And in the next slide, I will tell you about general idea of this HTTP system. Basically, instead of this 18% corporate income tax, HTTP companies pay just 1% tax on gross revenue received. It's kind of a special tax paid to the HTTP administration. There are very specific cases when HTTP companies still pay this 18% corporate income tax, like sale of shares, securities, interest income, but the core IT business is fully exempted from SIT. I may also say that it should be noted that high-tech park residents are limited in their activity by the business plan agreed with the administration. So high-tech park companies cannot trade in goods or provide non-IT services which are not allowed according to the plan. It also should be noted. HTTP residents do not pay VAT. This relates to provision of software and IP rights. This also relates to reverse charge VAT from certain purchases from foreign companies. There are very, very specific cases when HTTP companies can pay VAT. So normally it's also a full exemption. And which is also very interesting, the decreased withholding tax rates, which are 0% on interest and 0% on royalties. No special confirmation to apply these rates are required. So in this regard, HTTP companies can be used for tax structuring purposes. And there is a default 5% rate on dividends, which can still be decreased under the double tax treaties. For example, under the double tax treaty with the United States and some other countries, it can be even less than 5%. This 5% rate also does not require any additional confirmation. And there are some payroll tax benefits, which I will cover in the next slide in more detail. So please go to the next slide. Yeah, here it's a kind of summary of this tax regime, but maybe key benefits I've already mentioned, so we may go to the next slide to cover the personal income tax benefits. Yeah, so here you see a standard salary in Belarus for a IT business, which is $2,000 gross. And you see related in the last part of the table, you see related expenses of an employee and of the employer. So the idea is that unlike all other companies, HTP companies withhold 9% personal income tax instead of 13%. And this applies to all core staff working under employment contracts. As well, there are very important benefits in terms of social security, because standard rules are as follows. So the maximum base for social security is limited by 5 average salaries in Belarus, which are currently approximate like $2,500 American dollars. But for HTP companies, there is a right to pay social security from the average salary in Belarus, which is a bit above $500. So as a result, payroll expenses of HTP companies are sufficiently less than all other companies in Belarus. So going forward to the political crisis we have in Belarus, as you probably heard, we have almost 2 months of protests after the presidential elections and yesterday's official inauguration of the president. So many IT staff and IT businesses supported the protests, and some reaction from the state authorities already followed. So as a tax advisor, personally, I see that basically IT business in Belarus divided into 3 main groups. So the majority of companies are politically neutral and does not face any consequences as of now following this crisis, but still are concerned by this crisis, and some of them consider relocation of the staff to neighboring jurisdictions. So it is recommendable to have this plan B on the table, of course. Some of business representatives condemned violence on the streets, and currently I'm not aware of cases when this also resulted in some consequences for such type of business. There is also the smallest, the third part of businessmen which actively supported the opposition and, for example, provided aid to policemen willing to leave the service. So some of them faced audits of financial authorities, and such position may trigger country-related risks currently. So to summarize, as of now, we do not see mass repressions against the IT sector as such, but the companies actually supporting the opposition need to take into account these country-related risks. So last but not the least is that currently we have a draft of tax code for the next year in Belarus, and this tax code should introduce interesting benefits for venture capital and investment funds. So hopefully this political situation will stabilize and new opportunities will come next year.